What if the very thing you've been begging to be healed from is the precise, messy medicine you are meant to take? Let that question sit for a moment. It tingles, doesn't it? Like a recognition. Everywhere you turn, the spiritual mandate is clear. Release the obsession, transcend the longing, find detachment. And you've tried, haven't you? You've affirmed and meditated and sage-smudged your heart, only to find their name waiting for you in the silent space between breaths. It feels like failure. It tastes like copper and yearning. But what if we've all been reading the map upside down? I propose a different view. What if this all-consuming focus, this heart-thrumming, mind-occupying force, is not a glitch in your spiritual software, but a necessary, brutal, and brilliantly designed feature? Imagine for a second that your soul, in its infinite wisdom, needed a tool so potent, so irresistibly magnetic, that it could forcibly unplug you from a world of comfortable half-loves and sleepy identities. It would need a lure so bright you'd follow it into your own shadows. That's what this is. This obsession is not your weakness on display. It is your soul's fierce and unconventional strategy for liberation. It is the divine using a personal code, the image of another, to bypass a lifetime of firewalls you built around your own power. So before you condemn this feeling as a flaw, consider the architecture of its arrival. It didn't come to punish you. It came to perform a specific, radical surgery, and it required your complete and utter attention to do it. The real question isn't how to stop thinking about them. It's what, in the sacred silence behind their eyes, is it forcing you to finally see in yourself? Let's talk about what this obsession really is, because we've gotten so good at pathologizing it that we've missed its breathtaking, brutal utility. You see, before this connection entered your life, you were likely living in a beautifully furnished apartment. It was comfortable, you know? The walls were painted in the colors of other people's expectations. The furniture was arranged for social approval, and the view from the window was a pleasant, acceptable horizon line you'd agreed to decades ago. You called it your life, your identity, and it was fine. It was fine. But fine is not why your soul incarnated. Fine is not the destination of a divine contract. Then the encounter, and the obsession ignites. And this is where everyone gets it wrong. They call it a sickness. I call it the universe's most effective, albeit disorienting, demolition crew. Think about it. What does this obsession do in its raw, early phase? It becomes a laser of such searing focus that everything else in that nicely furnished apartment suddenly looks, well, fake, flat like stage props. That career you were so proud of? It feels suddenly hollow, a script you're reading. Those past relationships, they seem like child's play, echoes of a longing you now have a name for. Even your hobbies, your daily routines, they pale into a kind of gray noise. This isn't depression, my friend. This is comparative revelation. The obsession acts as a spiritual thermodynamics law. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transferred. And here, all the scattered energy you've invested across the vast landscape of your old life, the energy in that job title, that social role, that identity as a good partner or a responsible child, is violently, irresistibly drawn into one singular point of extreme heat. The idea, the feeling, the memory, the future fantasy of this twin flame connection. It's messy. It's inconvenient. It makes you feel crazy at the grocery store when you're staring at the apples and all you can think about is their laugh. But humor me for a second. What is being burned as fuel in this process? It's the psychic attachment to all that was not authentically you. The connection becomes the only thing that feels real. And in doing so, it performs a sacred act of vandalism on your false self. That's the mystery. The love you feel for them isn't just about them. It's a catalytic agent, a spiritual solvent. The intensity of the focus makes it impossible for you to maintain your investment in the illusions you once called safety. The walls of that old apartment have to come down because the new frequency entering your life cannot be contained within them. It would rattle the foundations until the whole thing collapsed anyway. So the obsession, in its fierce, myopic wisdom, speeds up the process. It forces you to see the truth. You were living in a rented space, and now the lease is up. You wander the rubble of your old identities, heartbroken, clutching this single, shining idea of them, and you think, this is destruction. But to the soul, it's the first act of creation. True creation requires a clear sight. You cannot build a cathedral on the foundation of a shack. The obsession held the laser steady until every non-essential structure was gone. And here you stand, in the open air, feeling terrifyingly exposed, holding this one precious, painful thing that feels like the only real artifact you own. And that's precisely the point. You've been stripped to your essence. Now the real work begins, not on when they will return, but on what you will now build from the soul up on this cleared ground. And isn't it interesting that the only tool you seem to have left, the only energy that feels potent enough to build with, is the very intensity of focus that just demolished your world? That's no coincidence. That's the hook. The demolition crew doesn't leave. They just put down the wrecking ball and hand you the blueprint for your own divinity. And the first line on that blueprint asks a question so simple, it might just change everything. Now that you know what real feeling is, what will you do with all that power? So you've felt the demolition, that sacred clearing, and now you're sitting in the open space, heart raw, with this one persistent, pulsing frequency that is your memory of them. And this is where the real mystery of the journey deepens, because not all heat is the same. Not all obsession serves the same master. You see, the spiritual path is brutally honest about energy. It's never about the label of the feeling, but about its direction, its quality, its fruit. And this is the most critical discernment you will ever make. Is this obsession a forge, or has it become a swamp? Let me explain. The initial divine obsession, the one that acted as the laser, is a forge. It is a contained inferno. Think of a master blacksmith's fire. It is intensely hot, yes. It is all-consuming in its purpose. But it is controlled, directed, and its entire reason for being is to transform what is placed within it. The metal is not the fire's victim, it is its purpose. In this state, even though you are burning, you are also changing. The obsession is the fuel, but you are the metal being shaped. You cry, but you have breakthroughs. You ache for them, but you stumble into revelations about your childhood. You scroll their social media, and a photo of a tree in the background somehow triggers a memory that heals a piece of your relationship with your father. It's chaotic, it's messy, but it is productive. The energy, however painful, is moving. It's forging a new you. You are obsessed, but you are also unmistakably undergoing a metamorphosis. The obsession and your growth are partners in a mad, sacred dance. Now, the other kind. The trap. This is the swamp. A swamp is also a wet, hot place, but its heat is stagnant, cloying, and it produces only decay and mosquitoes. Here, the obsession has lost its divine directive and has become a chronic state of lack. The focus is still intensely on the other person, but it's a closed loop. There is no parallel inner motion. The thoughts are circular, repetitive. Do they want me? Why did they leave? When will they return? The fantasy is detailed, but it's a fantasy of rescue, of completion by an external source. The energy is spent on psychic sleuthing, on crafting perfect messages, on interpreting signs in a way that keeps you waiting. There is no forging here, only the slow, sinking feeling of your own power being submerged. The swamp doesn't transform you. It preserves you in a state of longing. It's a museum of your unmet needs. How do you know? Honestly, your body and your life will tell you. The forge, though painful, brings moments of startling clarity, of unexpected strength, of weird serenity amidst the storm. You might cry yourself to sleep, but wake up and write a poem so beautiful it surprises you. The swamp brings fatigue, a drained kind of anxiety, a life that is shrinking, canceled plans, neglected friendships, a creative silence that feels heavy. The forge obsession has a strange gratitude buried in it. You hate the pain, but you're aware it's doing something. The swamp obsession only breeds resentment and an aching sense of powerlessness. The pivot, the moment of your own power, lies in asking one simple question of your obsession. What is it building? If the answer is nothing but more waiting, more fantasy, more lack, then you have mistaken the swamp for the sacred fire. And the remedy isn't to bash yourself for it. It's to gently, firmly redirect the energy. Take 1% of that obsessive thought energy and point it inward. Ask not what they are doing, but what you are becoming. The forge is always ready for you to place yourself back in its flames, not as a victim, but as the willing raw material of your own destiny. And here's the secret they don't tell you. Sometimes, stepping out of the swamp and walking towards the forge is simply a matter of getting bored with your own suffering. Tired of the same mental movies? Good. That boredom is the first spark of your own liberation. It means you're ready to pick up the hammer and start working the metal of your soul yourself. And that's when everything changes. Here you are then. You've witnessed the demolition. You've felt the difference between the forge and the swamp. And now there's this lingering question that feels like a quiet hum in your bones. What now? The obsession has done its job. It got your attention. It cleared the deck. It showed you a voltage, a feeling you never knew you could carry. But you can't live in the wiring. You have to build something with the current. This, my friend, is the great alchemical moment nobody really prepares you for. The day you realize the obsession was never the destination, but the raw, unrefined fuel for a completely different kind of fire. It's time for the redirect. Think of it like this. That obsession was a river, wild and torrential, crashing through the canyon of your old life. It had to be that fierce to carve the new channels, but a river that only ever floods eventually erodes its own banks and becomes destructive. The spiritual work, the true maturity of this path, is in installing the hydroelectric dam. You take that relentless, flowing energy, the same energy that used to cycle through thoughts of them, through fantasy, through aching, and you harness it. You redirect its force to power something else entirely. You change the object of your devotion. This is the secret. Obsession is energy pointed outward, toward a mirror, seeking to complete a circuit it feels is broken. Devotion is energy pointed inward and upward, flowing from a source of wholeness you're actively building within. The pivot is so subtle, it's easy to miss. It's the shift from asking, "Do they dream of me?" to asking, "What dream is waking up in me that is so powerful it summoned this mirror?" It's the movement from analyzing their every text to deciphering the text of your own soul's longing. You begin to devote the same quality of attention, the same daily mental focus, the same passionate intensity to your own awakening. You become a student of yourself with the fervor of a scholar studying the only book that matters. And here's where it gets beautifully practical, almost laughably simple. You take the 30 minutes you'd spend mentally rehearsing a conversation with them, and you spend it in a real conversation with your own intuition through journaling. You take the emotional intensity that used to spiral into longing, and you pour it into a creative project, a painting, a garden, a business idea that feels like it's coming from that same sacred place inside. You catch yourself fantasizing about a future with them, and you gently stop the movie and ask, what feeling in this fantasy is actually mine to claim right now? Is it peace? Is it adventure? Is it being seen? Then you go give that feeling to yourself. You devote yourself to becoming the source of the very things you believed only they could provide. This isn't about forgetting them. It's about outgrowing the need for the mirror as your primary light source. You learn to generate your own luminescence. And the wildest, most hopeful thing happens. As you do this, the obsession naturally, organically begins to quiet. Not because you've repressed it, but because you've satisfied its deeper purpose. It came to show you where your power was buried under all that yearning. Once you start digging there, the yearning transforms. It becomes gratitude for the catalyst, then quiet confidence in your own journey, then a kind of detached, compassionate love for the person who was the trigger for your own rebirth. The connection doesn't fade, it ascends. It moves from the drama of the personal to the harmony of the impersonal. You start to love them not for what you need them to be, but for the role they played in the sacred play of your awakening. And that, counterintuitively, is the only place from which a healthy, lasting union could ever possibly be built. Not from two halves seeking completion, but from two whole currents, having purified their own waters, now choosing to flow together. The obsession was the cry of your soul for itself. Now, will you answer? So here we are, at the edge of everything you thought you knew about love and longing. If you take nothing else from this, let it be this: your heart is not a traitor. That obsession, that glorious, terrible, all-consuming fire, was not a sign you were broken, but a signal you were being tuned to a new frequency. It was the universe's rather dramatic way of handing you a compass in a featureless landscape. For a while, the needle spun wildly, fixed on a single point outside yourself. And that was necessary to show you what real magnetic pull actually feels like after a lifetime of wandering in gentle, directionless fields. But the purpose of a compass is not to worship the needle. It is to find your true north. Now you know the temperature of your own soul. You've felt the forge that reshapes and the swamp that stagnates. You understand the alchemy of turning a scream of want into a whisper of devotion to your craft, to your peace, to the quiet morning light on your own kitchen table. This whole tumultuous process was never about manufacturing a union with another. It was about introducing you at a cellular level to the sheer voltage of your own capacity for connection. You had to feel it in such a heightened, deep, almost unbearable way to believe it was possible at all. You needed that shocking personal evidence to crack open the cynical shell and reveal the mystic within. So do not waste a drop of this experience in shame. You are not a prisoner of a feeling. You are a graduate of a sacred, if unorthodox, academy. You hold in your hands now the liberated energy of a redirected heart. This is where your true authority begins. The path forward is not a passive wait for a missing piece to return. It is an active, creative, and deeply personal pilgrimage toward the wholeness that the mirror once showed you in another's eyes. Build that wholeness with the same fierce dedication you once gave to wondering about them. And then, one ordinary, miraculous day, you'll look up from the life you've crafted, and you'll realize the obsession has quietly dissolved, not because you lost, but because you finally found what it was pointing toward all along: you. And from that place of full-handed generosity, all connections are reimagined, and every ending contains the quiet, hopeful seed of a genuine beginning. Your story isn't over. It's just become interesting enough to tell from a place of power.